Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. My dear students of class 12 of Alhaz Sarwar Khan Degree College, Assalamu alaikum. I am Mullik Nurul Islam, lecturer, Department of English, Alhaz Sarwar Khan Degree College, Shenhati, Digholia, Khulna. My dear students, I hope you all are well by the grace of Almighty Allah in this pandemic situation. I am also well by the grace of Almighty Allah. Look at this slide. Today I shall take a class on the lantern. It is a short story. The short story is written by William Somerset Maugham. Look at this slide. In this slide, you will know about William Somerset Maugham and about the short story The Lantern in brief. Let us read the slide. The story Lantern is by William Somerset Maugham. 1874 to 1965. Maugham was a British novelist, playwright, and short story writer whose work is characterized by a clear, lucid style and a profound understanding of human nature. The Lantern is about a lady admirer of the writer who managed to get a luncheon invitation from him to an expensive Paris restaurant 20 years ago. With humor and irony, the writer describes the lady's lavish eating at his expense and what happened to her 20 years later. Look at this slide. Let us start reading the short story. The Luncheon, William Somerset Maugham. I caught sight of her at the play, and in answer to her beckoning, I went during the interval and sat down beside her. It was long since I had last seen her, and if someone had not mentioned her name, I hardly think I would have recognized her. She addressed me brightly. Well, it is many years since we first met. How time does fly. We are none of us getting any younger. Do you remember the first time I saw you? You asked me to luncheon. Did I remember? It was 20 years ago and I was living in Paris. I had a teeny apartment in Latin Quarter overlooking a cemetery, and I was earning barely enough money to keep body and soul together. She had read a book of mine and had written to me about it. I answered, thanking her, and presently I received from her another letter saying that she was passing through Paris and would like to have a chat with me, but her time was limited, and the only free moment she had was on the following Thursday. She was spending the morning at the Luxembourg, and would I give her a little luncheon at Fierce afterwards? Fierce is a restaurant at which the French senators eat, and it was so far beyond my means that I had never even thought of going there. But I was flattered, and I was too young to have learned to say no to a woman. I had 80 francs, gold francs, to last me the rest of the month, and a modest luncheon should not cost more than 15. If I cut out coffee for the next 2 weeks, I could manage well enough. I answered that I would meet my friend by correspondence at first on Thursday at 12:30. She was not so young as I expected, and in appearance imposing rather than attractive. She was, in fact, a woman of 40, and she gave me the impression of having more teeth, white and large and even, than were necessary for any practical purpose. She was talkative, but since she seemed inclined to talk about me, I was prepared to be an attentive listener. I was startled when the bill of fare was brought, for the prices were a great deal higher than I had anticipated. But she reassured me I never eat anything for luncheon. She said, "Oh, don't say that. I answered generously. I never eat more than one thing. I think people eat far too much nowadays. A little fish, perhaps. I wonder if they have any salmon. Well, it was early in the year for salmon, and it was not on the bill of fare. But I asked the waiter if there was any. Yes, a beautiful salmon had just come in. It was the first they had had. I ordered it for my guest. The waiter asked her if she would have something while it was being cooked. No, she answered. I never eat more than one thing unless you have a little caviar. I never mind caviar. My heart sank a little. I knew I could not afford caviar, but I could not very well tell her that. I told the waiter by all means to bring caviar. For myself, I choose the cheapest dish on the menu, and that was a mutton chop. I think you are unwise to eat meat, she said. I don't know how you can expect to work after eating heavy things like chops. I do not believe in overloading my stomach. Then came the question of drink. I never drink anything for luncheon, she said. Neither do I. I answered promptly, except white wine. She proceeded as though I had not spoken. These French white wine are so light. They are wonderful for digestion. What would you like? I asked, hospitable still, but not exactly effusive. She gave me a bright and amicable flush of her white teeth. My doctor won't let me drink anything but champagne. I fancy I turned a trifle pale. I ordered half a bottle. I mentioned casually that my doctor had absolutely forbidden me to drink champagne. What are you going to drink then? Water. She ate the caviar, she ate the salmon, she talked gaily of art and literature and music. But I wondered what the bill would come to. When my mutton chop arrived, she took me quite seriously to task. I see that you are in the habit of eating a heavy luncheon. I am sure it is a mistake. Why don't you follow my example, and just eat one thing. I am sure you would feel ever so much better for it. I am only going to eat one thing, I said. As the waiter came again with the bill of fare, she waved she waved him aside with an airy gesture. No, no, I never eat anything for luncheon. Just a bite. I never want more than that. And I eat that more as an excuse for conversation than anything else. I could not possibly eat anything more unless they had some of those giant asparagus. I should be sorry to leave Paris without having some of them. My heart sank. I had seen them in the shop, and I knew that they were horribly expensive. My mouth had opened, watered at the sight of them. Madam wants to know if you have any of those giant asparagus. I asked the waiter. I tried with all my might to will him to say no. A happy smile spread over his broad, priest like face, and he assured me that they had some so large, so splendid, so tender that it was a marvel. I am not in the least hungry, my guest sighed. But if you insist, I don't mind having some asparagus. I ordered them. Aren't you going to have any? No, I never eat asparagus. I know there are people who don't like them. The fact is, you ruin your palate by all the meat you eat. We waited for the asparagus to be cooked. Panic seized me. I was not a, it was not a question now of how much money I should have left over for the rest of the month, but whether I had enough to pay the bill. The asparagus appeared. They were enormous, succulent, and appetizing. The smell of the melted butter tickled my nostril. Coffee, I said. Yes, just an ice cream and coffee, she answered. I was past caring now, so I ordered coffee for myself and an ice cream and coffee for her. You know, there is one thing I thoroughly believe in, she said as she ate the ice cream. One should always get up from a meal feeling one could eat a little more. Are you still hungry? I asked faintly. Oh no, I am not hungry. You see, I don't eat luncheon. I have a cup of coffee in the morning and then dinner. But I never eat more than one thing for luncheon. I was speaking for you. Oh, I see. Then a terrible thing happened. While we were waiting for the coffee, the head waiter, with an ingratiating smile on her face, came up to us bearing a large basket full of huge pieces. They had the blush of an innocent girl. They had the rich tone of an Italian landscape. But surely pieces were not in season then. Lord knew what they cost. You see, you have filled your stomach with a lot of meat. My own miserable little job, and you cannot eat anymore. But I have just had a snack and I shall enjoy a piece. The bill came, and when I paid it, I found that I had only enough for a quite inadequate tip. Her eyes rested for an instant on the 3 francs I left for the waiter, and I knew that she thought me mean. But when I walked out of the restaurant, I had the whole month before me and not a penny in my pocket. Follow my example, she said as we shook hands, and never eat more than one thing for luncheon. I'd do better than that, I retorted. I will eat nothing for dinner tonight. Humorist, she cried gaily, jumping into a cab. You are quite a humorist. But I have had my revenge at last. I do not believe that I am a vindictive man. But when the immortal gods take a hand in the matter, it is pardonable to observe the result with complacency. Today she weighs 21 stone. Today I have finished reading the short story The Luncheon. In the next class, I shall discuss on different aspects of this short story. My dear students, we are in a very critical situation for COVID 19. In this pandemic situation, we should follow the rules of health strictly. We must use mask. Mask prevents the spread of virus from person to person. We should use mask spontaneously. We must avoid any gathering. We must maintain social distance from person to person for breaking the chain of spreading COVID 19 virus. We must wash our hands again and again with soap as virus come to our hand first when we touch anything. We must not touch our eyes, nose, face, and ear with hands without washing with soap. We must try to stay at home as long as we can. My dear students, continue your studies, staying at home, attend the online classes regularly, communicate with us about your educational problems, and we are always ready to help you. I pray to Almighty Allah for your safety in this pandemic situation. You will also pray to Almighty Allah for us. I end today's online English class here. Thank you all. Allah Hafiz.